Now she's teasing a big announcement that she claims will result in some of her opponents being arrested and charged.
A Dalton home that she leased to Mayor Tiffany Henyard has filed eviction papers. She says Henyard has not paid.
Both locals and detractors are questioning how far a single leader can stretch the limits of power before everything falls apart. It may sound unreal, but the little Illinois community of Dune is at the heart of one of the most bizarre political dramas. Mayor Tiffany Henyard is at the center of it all, as her reign seems to have been plucked straight out of a political drama or perhaps a reality TV show. She has been accused of corruption, poor administration, and blatant scandal. Politics in the suburbs. Tiffany Henyard seems to have lost control of both trustworthy. Let's start with the most shocking revelation to date. Chris Gonzalez accused Henyard of masterminding the theft of more than $2 million in public monies during a recent meeting. That's right, $2 million that was intended to be utilized to provide crucial services and community development disappeared while she was watching and used the funds for questionable contracts. The cost of luxuries and personal expenses is borne by the people of Dune. Gonzalez denounced Henyard's behavior as a rejection of public trust, and he is not alone in his outrage. Tensions between the mayor and the trustees seem to be building at practically every public gathering, making the entire village tense. However, this is where things become even worse, as the messier Henyard administration has been charged for spending public monies on projects that seem to favor her personal brand over the community. For example, banners featuring the words "Super Mayor" and an image of a Henyard were placed along a key Dahlin route during the summer. These banners may look harmless enough, but the vendor who produced them says the trustees disapproved of them. When workers were instructed to take down the banners, Henyard called the police and requested that those responsible be charged, but the village has not yet paid them. Approximately $20,000 is due for them.
We're here to handle the business, not let the business handle us. That's what we are elected to do, sir. So please.
Footage from a
video captured by a body camera during open forum. Speakers from IRID have criticized Henyard's leadership. One homeowner labeled the banners ugly and questioned why. Others chastised her for prioritizing her image over the village's pressing needs, arguing that taxpayers should foot the bill for what they saw as Henyard's self-promotion. They asked why she wouldn't resign. Be heard claiming that they are removing government property and filing charges against him. Eventually, the acting police chief brought the flags back to Henyard, but not before the incident reached another. Humiliation in public. Despite the village having a budget, the mayor appeared more focused on maintaining her super mayor persona than addressing the financial situation. More than $3 million in deficit. Since we will continue to speak out against wrongdoing and you are a clown, why don't you step down? In addition to battling during public gatherings, Henyard is also fighting against being expelled. The mayor of Dalton and her boyfriend are being sued by the landlord for failing to pay rent. The landlord claims that Henyard and her partner ceased making monthly payments in August, despite earning over $300,000 a year from taxpayer-funded salaries. The landlord claims that the garage code unlocks were altered, making it difficult for her. She owes thousands in unpaid rent and has launched a lawsuit because she was unable to access the property for upkeep.
For a household that makes, over $350,000 a year,
it's going to
simply pay your rent, and it will eventually come up with you. When Tiffany Henyard's landlord was challenged directly about her ongoing tenant problems, her response encapsulated her rising frustration with Henyard, who has recently turned into a divisive character. In the meantime, Henyard has responded stubbornly to the mounting criticism, refusing to give in to public pressure or acknowledge the gravity of the charges against her. Many of you come to this mic and talk about nothing. And when I say nothing, you're talking about Tiffany Henyard. She said scathingly to the audience at a recent village board meeting, demonstrating your genuine admiration for me and me. I am appreciative that the bold statement, delivered in the face of mounting charges and legal difficulties, stunned a lot of laws. How someone so controversial could appear so confident or detached from reality has been criticized more by residents. Anger has not been significantly reduced by dissatisfaction with Henyard's leadership or her combative demeanor. I'm going to press charges and try to get the people implicated arrested. At the same meeting, Henyard made a statement that heightened tensions. Many perceived this as an effort to appease her detractors rather than deal with their problems. Selection of a new police officer in Henyard. Head has drawn criticism for her recent selection of Ronald Senior as the next head, and her decision-making process has come under scrutiny. This has led to calls for increased responsibility and widened rifts within the community, adding to the already lengthy list of concerns. With no end in sight, the distance between Henyard and her critics seems to be growing as these issues worsen. Her opponents perceive her stubbornness as an unwillingness to change, and locals see the appointment as just another example of her contentious management style, which has been marked by rash decisions and a lack of transparency. Address the very real problems facing her community, while her supporters argue that she is just refusing to back down from unwarranted attacks. The question now is how long Henyard can withstand the storm of legal issues, public discontent, and internal conflict without facing severe political consequences. The contrast: a leader who is committed to holding on to power at all costs, even while the ground beneath her appears to be growing more unstable, is depicted by the contrast between Henyard's assured demeanor and the mounting pressure from her critics as the scandal surrounds her mouth.
Arrests for individuals involved. I will be pressing.
Tensions in Dalton increased as a result of Mayor Tiffany Henyard's decision to appoint Ronald Senior as the village's acting police chief, which has led to legal problems and strong condemnation. Despite steadfast protests and a dire warning from the Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board, which regulates law enforcement across the state, Henyard went ahead with Burge's appointment. Following the board's strong recommendation that Burge be removed from public service until the issues were resolved after he was classified as inactive due to incomplete paperwork and his failure to meet requalification standards, Henyard went to great lengths to have a judge approve his appointment as interim head for 30 days while a permanent replacement is sought for the trustees, who viewed this as just another instance of Henyard's contempt for proper process and governance standards. They are thinking of pursuing further legal action to stop Burge's appointment because of the decision that has further strained their relationship with the Henyard's government. The Burge appointment controversy is just the latest in a string of controversies that have weakened public and official confidence. Criticism of her acts claims that they show procedural problems aside, a propensity to make choices alone, and a lack of readiness to collaborate with key stakeholders, in addition to expressing broader concerns about accountability and the possible impact on public safety. The trustees' objections to Burge's nomination have become a central issue in the ongoing dispute between Henyard and her opponents, who contend that she is jeopardizing the integrity of local governance. Recently, Lori Lightfoot, a former mayor of Chicago, joined the growing number of opponents who condemned Henyard for the atrocious herd's already growing issues being exacerbated by financial mismanagement. Lightfoot claimed that millions of dollars in federal funds meant for Dalton's infrastructure and community development projects had been embezzled or used without authorization, exacerbating the village's financial issues. The effectiveness of the Henyard administration has been criticized more because of these charges. The locals are already upset about what they perceive to be a lack of accountability, and now they want to know what happened to the government funds that were meant to help the struggling community get back on its feet. Many people think that Lightfoot's involvement emphasizes how serious the situation is and raises more questions about Dalton's leadership during your time at Henyard, meanwhile, has reacted to the criticism in a combative way. She has accused her opponents of obstructing the village's advancement and dismissed them as politically motivated. Her supporters argue that she is unfairly singled out and that her bold approach is crucial to overcoming Dalton's challenges. But her critics point to her refusal to address the underlying issues, or having a sincere discussion just serves to validate their concerns about her leadership. Because of the controversy surrounding Bird's nomination and allegations of financial mismanagement, many residents have started to question whether the village can advance under Henyard's direction.
To look in our face, but you rather just steal our money and do what you want to do.
You have to know that karma will eventually come up with you. Just pay your rents, said when Tiffany Henyard's landlord was asked about her ongoing tenant problems. Her response aptly encapsulated her growing frustration with Henyard, who has recently turned into a divisive character. In the meantime, Henyard has responded forcefully. Many of you come to this meg talking about nothing. And when I say nothing, you're talking about Tiffany Henyard. She said sharply to the audience during a recent village board meeting, stating that you are true to the mounting criticism for refusing to give in to public pressure or acknowledge the gravity of the accusations made against her. Admirers of mine, and I'm thankful that the bold statement, made in the midst of mounting allegations and legal issues, stunned a lot of the locals. Residents have grown more skeptical about how someone involved in so much controversy could appear confident or, as some believe, detached from reality. Spoken out against Henyard's leadership, and her combative manner hasn't helped to ease the tension. I'm going to press charges and try to get the people implicated arrested. At the same meeting, Henyard made a statement that heightened tensions. Many perceived this as an effort to appease her detractors rather than deal with their problems. Henyard's recent appointment of Ronald Bursenor as the next head of police has spurred yet another legal battle, adding to the already lengthy list of issues. Her decision-making process has also come under scrutiny, and the action has widened calls for greater responsibility. Conflicts within the community, the appointment is seen by many locals as just another example of Henyard's controversial management style, which has been marked by rash decisions and a lack of transparency. With no end in sight, the gap between Henyard and her critics seems to be growing as these issues deepen her enemies' problems. The question now is how Henyard can weather this storm of legal troubles, public resentment, and internal strife without suffering serious political setbacks. Her supporters argue that she is simply refusing to back down from unjustified attacks, while she is stubborn in her refusal to address the very real issues of her constituency. The consequences, Henyard's self-assured demeanor contrasted with the mounting criticism from her critics due to the scandal surrounding her mouth, painting a picture of a leader who is committed to holding on to power no matter what, even though the ground beneath her appears to be growing more unstable.
Mayor Tiffany Henyard is mounting a re-election bid. Henyard made the announcement in a post on her Facebook.
Former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, who has publicly chastised Dolton Mayor Tiffany Henyard for her alleged financial mismanagement, claims that public benefit initiatives have disappeared without explanation. According to reports, some of the stolen money was diverted to support Henyard's personal lifestyle, which included opulent private parties and luxury purchases, rather than being used for community development and necessary services. The people of Dolton deserve accountability and transparency, and Mayor Henyard has failed them on both counts. Lightfoot said without holding back when she added, "You don't even have the decency to look us in the face, but you would rather just steal our money and do what you want to do." Her scathing criticism struck a chord with many irate neighbors. The public's eye has been further stopped by these accusations, as many have pointed out the sharp discrepancy between the mayor's alleged lifestyle and the hard realities that the town faces. Inadequate public services, underfunded schools, and crumbling infrastructure serve as stark reminders of what detractors claim are Henyard's leadership shortcomings. The feeling of the community was expressed by local activist James Carter, who said, "We've seen our town struggle while the mayor lives a life of luxury. She needs to take responsibility for her actions." Now, Henyard has tried to change the story in spite of these damaging charges, and she recently boldly unveiled a plan to provide Thoron Township homeowners a 100% homeowner tax refund, promoting it as a brave attempt to alleviate financial hardship. Many officials and locals, however, were perplexed by the announcement's lack of explanation and specificity, which raised questions about its viability. Critics, including Trustee Chris Gonzalez, have expressed grave doubts about the feasibility of the idea, particularly in light of the township's previous financial status. The promise of a full tax refund appears to many to be a vacuous political ploy intended to divert attention from the growing scandals surrounding Henyard's administration, given the reported missing millions of dollars and the deficit that has left fundamental public services underfunded. Henyard's tax refund idea has polarized the community instead of allaying fears. Some wonder if it is a sincere effort to assist locals or a last-ditch effort to save her reputation. Critics contend that the proposal is opaque and leads to more questions than it answers, especially about the source of funding and how to implement such a program without making the township's financial problems worse. In the meantime, the public's annoyance is rising as claims of ambitious projects seem insincere in light of the obvious disregard. Residents claim that under Henyard's leadership, the state of the roads has deteriorated, schools are having difficulty providing enough resources, and vital public services are overburdened. Henyard's government has been plagued by accusations of financial mismanagement, and the controversy has further widened the gap between her fans and critics. Accountability demands have been heightened by whistleblower reports that claimed federal money meant for public welfare projects have been embezzled. Locals are calling for answers and action because they are already fed up with what they see as a lack of openness. Many people are questioning whether Henyard leadership can handle the increasing strain, and the situation has put her in the crosshairs of both public opinion and possible judicial inquiry. Henyard has demonstrated little inclination to back down in the face of these difficulties, maintaining her reputation as a resilient leader, but her disobedience hasn't done much to appease skeptics who interpret her behavior as a sign of a greater indifference to community needs and concerns. The promise of a tax refund seems alluring, yet it has been criticized as a diversion from Dalton's more serious problems. Gonzalez and other critics have referred to the action as a smokescreen intended to divert attention from the financial mismanagement claims and scandals that have come to characterize Henyard's tenure. Many locals feel deceived and disillusioned by the disconnect between Henyard's rhetoric and the actual situation on the ground. Dalton has faced financial difficulties for many years, and accusations of abuse and poor administration have shattered the optimism that government subsidies and other funding would bring much-needed assistance. The community's unfulfilled requirements are starkly brought to light by the obvious degradation of the infrastructure, the difficulties faced by the local schools, and the inadequate public services. Given this, many people believe that Henyard's defiance and promises are disconnected from the realities of her constituents' lives.